Good evening, everybody. Thank you all very much for coming. Many familiar faces. I know at least Amy's never been to this before. Is there anybody else who's never been to this before? Hi, 1, 2, 3, 4 of you. Welcome. Can I ask, is there anybody who's never meditated before? You've meditated before, and you've meditated, never, not really. Maybe a little.
No, I sit down and rest. I mean, that's not what that
It's sort of similar, okay, but nothing formal. And you definitely have, obviously. So, okay, so for those of you who've never done it before, relax, you're in the right place. And it's much easier than you probably think it is. So there's this sort of sense out there that meditation is really hard. And I'm going to suggest it's really simple. And I'll show you how simple it is in a little bit. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Justin. I've been meditating for about 30 years and teaching for about 19. It doesn't make me an expert. I'm not a guru. I'm not a spiritual teacher. I'm just somebody who's done it a lot. I've studied it a lot. I get a lot out of it personally, and I get a lot out of sharing it. So that's sort of mostly why I do this. Tonight is the first of a series that we're going to do looking at love and compassion meditations. So there are many, many, many aspects of meditation. There are many reasons to do it, many different techniques, many traditions that it comes out of. Very, very broadly speaking, you might say one of the big categories of meditation is what we call mindfulness meditation, or what I prefer to call awareness meditation, where we are training ourselves in holding our attention in present moment awareness. For example, on the breath, or on our breathing, or on our body, or on sounds. Another big category of meditation is what's known as mantra meditation, where you repeat a word or a phrase over and over. Then there is a whole category of guided meditations, where they'll sort of take you to different locations, or you'll investigate different feelings, and it's all done through a guide. Then there are sort of very specialist meditations. So there might be a bunch of meditations around healing, for example, or around meditations very specifically designed for sort of spiritual experience. Over the next 6 weeks, I'm inviting everybody to join me on a journey as we explore a category of meditations that we might call, or loosely called, love and compassion meditations. One of the nice things about, there are many, many, many nice things about love and compassion meditations. One of the nice things about them is that they actually pretty much encompass every other type of meditation. So there is an aspect of holding our attention, as in present moment awareness. There is an aspect of mantra meditation to it. There's an aspect of a guided meditation. There's an aspect of healing to these. And there's even an aspect where this overlaps with some of the spiritual practices. So even though this is a subset, we are going to we're going to cover many, many different aspects of meditation in the broader context. I'm going to talk more about the 6 weeks and why I want to do it and how we're going to do that in a second. But before that, I'd just like to get into a meditation, because I always like to start with a simple grounding meditation. And it is a classic. It's a breath meditation. So it is a meditation where we're going to try and hold our attention in the present moment. And since you've never done it before, I'll explain to you exactly what we're going to do, and for everybody else. And since you've never done it before, I'll explain how simple this is. So if I can invite everybody to sit up straight. So we want to have a little bit of energy in our body so that we're alert. But we do want to be comfortable. So alert but comfortable is what we're going for. Feet flat on the floor, hands wherever they're comfortable. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Now we're going to change that very, very slightly. I'm going to ask you to put a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly. And take a deep breath into your chest so that your chest rises. And then let it out. So that is chest breathing. Now we're going to try and breathe into our belly, sometimes known as diaphragmatic breathing, where we make the belly big, so we make ourselves fat. So breathe into your belly so that you make the belly nice and fat. Nice deep breath in. And let it out. So in general in this meditation, we're going to try, to the extent that it's easy for you and not too difficult, to do belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. And for the first few breaths, all we're going to do is just take a nice deep breath in through the nose and then breathe out as slowly as you can through your mouth. We're not trying to break a world record in how slowly we breathe out, but just consciously, nice, long, and slow out through the mouth. So take a nice deep breath in through your nose, and then slowly out through your mouth like you're blowing up a balloon. Okay, you can relax. So, if you can do that, you can meditate. That's pretty much all there is to it. There is this tiny catch to this, of course. The difficulty is that we have a mind. And the mind does not like to stay focused on the breathing for very long. Your mind, everybody else in here, my mind, the Dalai Lama's mind, everybody's mind wants to jump in with other thoughts. Thoughts about our to-do list, thoughts about conversations we've had, about family, about friends, relationships, work, whatever. The mind just wants to pop in with problems you've got to solve or whatever. It's pretty random sometimes what these thoughts are that pop into your mind. But all we're trying to do is we're trying to hold our attention on the breathing. So as we breathe, we try and place our attention on the breathing, just being aware of it. Being aware maybe of our belly as it moves. Being aware of the air as it comes in and as it goes out. And we're trying to hold our attention there, and maybe you'll be able to hold your attention on the breathing, noticing it, watching it. We're trying not to think about it too much, although if this is your first time, you might find yourself thinking about the breathing. But we're just trying to notice and observe the breathing, just being aware of our breathing. And then at some point, your mind is going to go. You're going to start thinking about something completely different. And that does not mean you're doing it wrong. It's just what happens. You have a mind. Stuff is going to come into it. And you're going to follow that thought. But then there's going to come a really, really important moment in the meditation where you notice that you're no longer paying attention to your breathing. And that moment is key. That's the key moment. That's a really, really important moment, because in that moment, you are aware of your own thoughts. And then you go, I got distracted. Interesting. You might even notice what the thought was, like, oh, I'm solving a problem, or I'm worrying about something, or whatever. And it might be quite an attractive thought, and you think, oh, I really need to think about that. And see if you can let it go, because it'll still be there after the meditation. You can come back to it. And then for the meditation, for the duration of this, you're going to try and return your attention back to the next breath and just start again. And we do that over and over and over. It is as simple as that. And it is as difficult as that as well, because the mind keeps going. But if you can, possibly, and sometimes this is easier said than done, try not to judge yourself for getting distracted. It's quite common for us to think, oh, I got distracted, like that's a bad thing. It's just an inevitable thing. You have a mind. You are human. You will get distracted. That is part of the meditation. Then when we notice, bring our attention back to the next breath. You okay? Any questions? Okay, let's give it a go for 10 minutes. I will let you know when we're about a third of the way through, and I'll let you know when there are about 3 minutes left, just in case you are like, please, can this be over? But if I can invite you all to take a nice deep breath in and let it out through your mouth very nice and slowly. And take another deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just try and release any physical tension you're holding in your body, in your shoulders, in your hips, in your back, in your face. And take another deep breath in. And now see if you can let go of any emotional tension. All of your to-dos and all of the stuff of your life, you can have it all back at the end of the evening. But see if you can let it go just for the next 90 minutes. And now allow your breathing to return to normal. And just see if you can hold your attention watching your breathing. Maybe watching your belly expanding and contracting. Maybe just paying attention to the air and noticing the sensation of it as it comes in and as it goes out. As I said, we'll do this for about 10 minutes. about a third of the way through. I just encourage you to keep bringing your attention back to the next breath when you notice you're distracted. And just see if you can just simply start again. Just 3 minutes left. Just encourage you to keep persevering. No matter how many times you've been distracted, or for how long you've been distracted. When you notice it, see if you can keep trying to start again with the next breath. invite you to take a deep breath in and let it out. And keeping your eyes closed, I just invite you to become aware of your body as it's breathing. And then become aware of your whole body, from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. Just noticing how you're feeling right now. Noticing the sensation of the floor under your feet. Noticing where you can feel the chair that you're sitting on. Now noticing the sound in the room, my voice, the air conditioner. Take a deep breath in and let it out. And when you're ready, open your eyes and connect back into the room around you. So, compassion meditation. Well, firstly, a confession, which is that although I'm certainly not an expert, there are definitely aspects of meditation. I've been doing this a long time, and I've done a lot of study in a lot of different traditions, a lot of different teachers. And there are definitely certain aspects of meditation where I think I probably do know more than the average, bear kind of thing. But compassion meditation is not one of them. It's not an area where I really feel as though I've done a lot of work on. I've known about it for a long time, but I was relatively late coming to this. I was sort of aware that it was an aspect, and I had to read books on it when I was studying. But I just kind of thought it was kind of for nice people, and I wasn't really a nice person, so I didn't need to do this. I approached meditation more. I was like fascinated by the mental discipline of it and the spiritual aspects of it. And there's a whole aspect which is all about power, and I was like, oh, I like that. And there are ways in which you can change your states of consciousness. And I was like really into that. And I did that for a really long time, and it was great. And then there was this compassion thing. I was like, oh, that's nice. It's nice that people do that. And I didn't really get into it until I was sort of forced onto it. It was just a few years ago. I was on a retreat, and it came time on the retreat where we had to do the compassion piece. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll do it. Got nothing else to do. And finally the light went on, and I was like, oh, that's what this is about. I was like, this is not about being nice to other people. I mean, it can be that, but it's far more about being nice to ourselves. That's the much bigger part of this. And I'd noticed that in my own practice, although my meditations, I was loving it, I was getting a lot out of it, it had plateaued. I'd sort of got slightly stuck. It was still great, but I wasn't making a difference in my life particularly. If I stopped doing it, that made a difference, a bad difference. So, I was maintaining whatever level I had, but it wasn't changing anything until I came across this compassion meditation. I was like, wow, okay, this is incredibly powerful. And within some of the meditation traditions, they always talk about there are sort of 3 parts of the stool. And if you only have 2 parts of the stool, then the stool falls over. And I was like, I'm fine with power and wisdom. That whole heart thing, I can balance on 2, it's fine. But then I was like, oh no, the 3rd part. I see. So, for those of you who haven't been here before, we've just finished a 12-week introductory series where we covered a very broad section of different meditation traditions and styles and techniques. And there's this sort of 6 weeks between now and the end of July. And I was like, well, what I want to do is I just want to do an experiment of just really focusing on compassion meditation for myself for 6 weeks and just see what happens. So it's 42 days, including tonight. There's 42 days between now and the end of July. And I'm going to try this experiment of 42 days of focusing on these different meditation techniques. And I'm just going to invite you to come along. Now, if tonight's the only night you come, that's fine. But I'm just going to invite you to see what would happen between now and the end of July if we just focused, or if you just focused on compassion meditation. And I'll lead you through it and guide you through it. And it's not that I know nothing about it. I know quite a bit about it. But I will also admit that this is slightly self-indulgent. And as I'm going to sort of be presenting more of it, I am going to be presenting what my insights are and what I have found fascinating or interesting and what I found life-changing about these things. And I haven't been teaching this long enough to know whether any of those insights are relevant to you or not. So they might not be. And I apologize in advance if I say something and you go, yeah, that doesn't apply to me. But what I would also say is, my purpose in sharing those is not to be completely self-indulgent. It's really in the hope that they're interesting to you too. But the really important part is the practices themselves. And we'll always do practice in every week. We'll do 2 or 3 different practices. So we're going to start tonight. And the first insight I have for you about these love and compassion and kindness and generosity meditations is that they are practices largely in generosity. So you all have a capacity of generosity. Sometimes we practice it more, sometimes less. Sometimes we practice our generosity when somebody deserves it, when they've earned it. And then we're not so generous when they haven't earned it and deserved it. Well, this is not that type of generosity. This is that generosity where it is just freely given for no reason. We just give it with no expectation of anything in return. We're just giving it away. And we have that capacity to be that generous. Now, you might like to know that the main recipient of this generosity is yourself. That is the primary thing we're going to focus on. It's not the only thing we focus on in these, but it is the main thing we focus on. It's certainly in the beginning. The main thing we focus on is self-compassion. Noticing how kind we are to ourselves, or not, as the case may be. And trying to be a little bit more kind to ourselves. So throughout this, there is a big emphasis on trying to be kinder to yourself, including during the meditations themselves. So, be comfortable. I mean, and there's still going to be the suggestion that you sit up straight so that you're alert. But nevertheless, we're going to be kind to ourselves. So you do want to sit comfortably. The other piece of this is you really can't do this wrong. You cannot get this wrong. You already have a capacity for love. You were born with it. You have a capacity for compassion. When you see somebody that you care for and they're in pain, you have a desire to help them, even if you're not able to. You have that inborn sense of compassion. We all do. You have a capacity for generosity. You have a capacity for kindness. Now, sure, we don't always practice those things as much as we might, but we already do those things. So you don't have to learn anything new. All we're going to do is try and uncover some of what you've already got, develop it. There is a sense in which these things, they are skills. And many of us, we walk around and we think, oh yeah, I'm a loving person, or I'm a kind, I mean, I don't, but some people do. We might walk around sort of saying, oh yeah, I'm kind, I'm nice, I'm generous, or whatever. And we think that whatever we have, that's our baseline, and that's it, it doesn't move. Turns out it's not true. We have what we have, but you can get better at these things. It's a skill like any other skill. You just have to practice it. So we cannot get this wrong. So if we're meditating and you're getting distracted, or we're meditating and you go, oh, I'm not feeling anything, or I don't think I'm any good at this, or I don't think this is for me, please just notice that that is the other thing we have capacity for. We have capacity for love and kindness, generosity, compassion. However, we also have the capacity for the opposite of those things. We all do. Every one of us can be selfish, cruel, frequently to ourselves. We can be ungenerous, even hateful sometimes. And what we're going to be doing this is consciously deciding that we're going to practice the other side, the good side. So, any questions? Okay, so the first exercise is something called the Circle of Benefactors. What I'm going to invite you to do, it's a guided meditation. I'm going to ask you to imagine various people. The guide for this is people who you feel very comfortable with. Because in general, people you feel very comfortable with are people who make you feel good. And that's really what we're going for here. But I'll give you a guide. We're going to start with like the friend that you feel absolutely supports you the most. And then you're going to add your other best friends who you feel support you. Then we're going to do a little bit of a trip through history and get you to remind yourself about those people from your history, from when you were young, who were your very good friends and supporters. So they might have been your friends. They might have been friends of your family. Could have been relatives who supported you, who believed in you. Teachers, mentors, bosses. For the last part of the exercise, I'm going to ask you to think about anybody from history, or any authors, or even fictional characters that have been inspirational for you. And just to imagine and recognize that they would probably be extremely proud of you and proud of the fact that they've been able to help you and influence you. So that might be a religious figure, or it might be just a historic figure. That's for you to decide. And what you're going to do is try and envision yourself allowing yourself to feel their love and support for you. So, again, if I can invite you to sit up straight, feet flat on the floor. Actually, I got feedback last class. Can everybody stand up for a second and just stretch? Okay, there you go. And when you're ready, take a seat. I realize I get to stand here and walk around, but you have to sit in these uncomfortable chairs. So, feet flat on the floor. I invite you to sit up straight, hands wherever they're comfortable. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose and let it out slowly through your mouth. Now allow your breathing to return to normal, and I'd invite you to close your eyes and just notice your breathing. With each in-breath, bringing in life into your body. And as you breathe out, just relaxing, settling into your body. And now I'd like you to picture yourself in a favorite location of yours. It might be a clearing in a forest or on a beach. It might be in a special room in a special building. And I'd like you to see yourself there with your best friend, who, regardless of the complexities of your relationship with them, you know that underneath all of that, they absolutely support you, care about you, and love you. Just allow yourself to feel that level of support and generosity they have for you. might invite you to think of a few more friends that you'd like to add to your circle. Now I'd like you to think back in time to when you were young, to any special friends you had that you used to hang out with a lot, that you cared about a lot, you had a lot of fun with. And just invite them along. See their smiles. Recognize how much they still care about you. Then maybe when you were a bit older in high school, dear friends that you had, maybe you've lost touch with now, but you can add them to the circle. You can maybe see them introducing themselves to the others in the group. They all share this care for you. Now picture any relatives who were big believers in you from any point in time, supported you, looked out for you. Any family friends that were particularly encouraging. Any special teachers that were particularly good to you. See them all adding to this group. And allow yourself to feel the level of support they have for you. Sometimes we don't feel we're necessarily worthy or deserving of this. For this exercise, see if you can let that go and allow yourself to feel the love and support these people had for you. Now maybe you had some mentors, some very good bosses in your career. Maybe you've had some good spiritual teachers or priests, rabbis. Invite them to join the group. And you should have quite a few people at this group now. For the last category, I'd invite anybody from history or any authors that you found particularly inspirational, that have helped you out. And invite them to join the circle as well. You can have as many people as you like. See if you can feel this support. One of the traditional instructions here is to see if you can see their support as waves of light. that are surrounding you and that you're allowing to envelop you, almost like a shower of light and energy. You can bathe in that energy. Feel the love in that energy. Feel the healing power of that energy. You can rest in that energy. It can be tempting to believe that these people don't know the real you. You've kept your true nature, your failings, your flaws, carefully hidden away. But the slightly disappointing truth is that usually these people, they actually know all about that. We haven't hidden those things as well as we'd hoped. They usually know all about our flaws, and they love us anyway. They don't care about the flaws. And to that extent, they can be our inspiration for ourselves. And see if you can give yourself that same level of love, kindness, generosity, and support that they give you. Just recognize in this moment that this level of support for you, love, acceptance, is always available. Right here in your mind. Now see yourself smiling at your circle, thanking them, wishing them well. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in and let it out. When you're ready, open your eyes and reconnect back into the room. So that's one exercise. The classic, what's known as loving kindness exercise, which comes out of the Theravadan Buddhist tradition. It's known as metta, M-E-T-T-A. And in this, it's very interesting. I've been doing this for quite a long time, but it's only relatively recently I've sort of started to look at, what's it doing and why does it work and what are some of the different theories about the practice. And it involves the repetition of certain phrases. And I'd always been taught these 3 phrases, and I'd always used the same 3 phrases. But it turns out there's a little bit more history to it than that, and there is an encouragement for you to pick your own phrases. So the phrases I've always used is, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may my life be filled with joy. Now, traditionally, the phrases used are, may I be free of danger. May I be free of mental suffering. May I be free of physical suffering. May my life be filled with ease. And apparently that was, one of the, there are probably half a dozen people who are like, I read about loving kindness and compassion, but one of the queens of this is this woman called Sharon Salzberg. And she tells this funny story about how she'd done these practices for 3 months straight in Burma, and she'd found it incredibly transformational. And she'd come back to America and she was teaching it. And after the meditation, she sort of rings the bell. And then all of a sudden there's this massive long line of people who want to talk to her afterwards. And they're like, I don't like talking about danger and suffering. And she's like, so she changed it. So she tends to sort of say, instead of may I be free of danger, may I be safe. Instead of may I be free of mental suffering, may I be happy. Instead of may I be free of physical suffering, may I be healthy. And then may I live with ease. I'd heard the may I live with ease. I never really knew what that meant. So I was always like, may my life be filled with joy. What I would encourage you to do is to pick any phrases you like. There is a small, subtle, but interesting difference between may I be safe as opposed to may I be free of danger. Subtle difference between may I be happy versus may I be free of suffering. And in some ways, it's the difference between love and compassion. So love is this desire for a gift. It's a giving. It's a desire for happiness. Compassion is that desire to do something about somebody else's suffering. So may I be free of suffering, it's sort of more about compassion as opposed to may I be healthy or may I be happy. The other thing is, if for any of you, English is not your first language, you don't have to use English. Absolutely use a different language. But just have a thought about what phrases you like, what resonates for you, whether you prefer may I be happy, may I be healthy, may my life be filled with joy, or may I be free of danger, may I be free of mental suffering, may I be free of physical suffering, may I live with ease. Just have a thought about what phrases you use. And what we're going to do is we're going to repeat 3 or 4 phrases over and over. And there's a few things going on here from a meditation perspective. One is we're trying to place our attention, just as you place your attention on the breathing, we're really trying to place our attention on these phrases and be fully present to the phrase. So you can pause until you're absolutely present on the phrase of may I be happy. And we're not just going to say this to ourselves. It's a 5-part exercise where we'll be saying it to other people. We'll also say it to ourselves, but a lot of it will be, may you be happy. May you be free of physical suffering. But just think a little bit about what your phrases might be. So in one respect, we're using that attention and awareness and placing our attention on these phrases. In another aspect, this is like mantra meditation. We are saying these things over and over again. And it's the repetition of the phrases that also has an impact on our psyche. So there's a couple of things going on. Is there anything else I wanted to say about it? Oh, yes. So I have tended, when I've taught this, to encourage people to feel the feeling of love, to allow yourself to open your heart and to feel the feeling. The downside of this is that sometimes people don't feel anything. And then they can be like, oh, I don't feel anything. The feeling is actually sort of optional. What's in many ways more important is actually the saying of the phrase rather than the feeling that goes with it. Particularly with some of the people that we bring to mind, it might be hard to generate a feeling of love towards somebody that you find a little bit annoying. And it doesn't matter whether you have that feeling for them or not. The key is to place your attention on the phrase and then say the phrase. And that's sort of more important. Now, one of the things that I think's interesting about this exercise is that with mindfulness meditation or awareness meditation, when we're honing our attention on the present moment, we become far more aware of what's going on in the moment. We become far more aware of our thoughts, far more aware of our emotions, aware as feelings arise within us. We can become aware of the narrative that runs in our head. And sometimes that narrative is helpful, sometimes that narrative is unhelpful. And we can notice the narrative and then decide, okay, do I want to buy into this or not? And we're developing that skill in mindfulness meditation of noticing what's going on in your mind and then maybe changing where you've put your attention. And that's sort of one of the skills of that. And that's fantastic. It's a very important, powerful thing. However, in this practice of loving kindness meditation, we change the narrative. So that if you were coming from a place of, let's say, fear or self-doubt, and that was always behind not only your interaction with other people, but your interaction with yourself, through this exercise, that changes. And your default narrative becomes one of connection. And so while mindfulness and awareness meditation is fantastic for seeing the narrative and then having power over it, this is the exercise that changes the narrative. Now, you don't have to feel that. One of the other things that's always said about this exercise is we are sowing seeds. So whether you feel something or not is actually irrelevant, because it's sowing seeds, and sometimes you need 42 days between now and the end of July for those seeds to bear fruit. One of the reasons why I invite you to join me on this journey. Are there any questions about the exercise?
Where's some places where we can find these words we want to say? Just make them up in our
good
head.
question.
It's a tough one.
Well, I'll invite you to try out the ones I'm going to use tonight.
Okay, we're gonna.
So I'll guide you through this, and I'll give you the three that I've always used. May I be happy, may I be healthy, may my life be filled with joy. But if you find that you want to join me on this journey, and we're going to try and do this meditation every day for 42 days, and then see what happens at the end of the 42 days, by all means, try out some different phrases.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I've used those. So where can we find the other ones?
It's a good question. I would say loving kindness phrases in Google. There you go. I'm pretty sure that will give you a bunch of options. Yes, sorry, Gail.
Should you have the same phrases throughout the meditation, or can you change them?
Great question. So should you have the same phrases through the meditation, or can you change them? And the answer is yes and yes. So the recommendation is that you, by all means, experiment with different phrases, but the idea is to try and stick with the same ones through the meditation. Because otherwise what can happen is you can go, oh, what was I supposed to say next? And you can get lost. However, part of the premise of this entire thing is to be kind and to allow ourselves a little bit of luxury here, so that if you find yourself saying something to somebody in your mind and it just feels wrong, change it. There you go. So yes and yes is the answer. Unhelpfully. Yes, please. Yeah. Anita.
You say may I or asking permission. What you're thinking of saying I am.
Yeah, no, so the question is, do you have to say may I, or, which is sort of asking for permission, or can you just say I am, or you are? Absolutely, you can do that. The may I is not so much a permission request as an intention, as a sort of, may I win the lottery kind of thing. It's more of a sort of request of the universe rather than an asking for permission. But absolutely, it definitely doesn't matter if you change that to I am. In some ways, and I wasn't sure whether to share this with you or not, I've been looking at how hypnosis works recently. And one of the premises underlying hypnosis is that our deeper mind, our sort of subconscious mind, if you like, is very, very, very powerful. And it tends to do exactly what we tell it to do. And it's pretty good. It's pretty smart. So if we say to it, oh, I hate going to the gym. I hate going to the gym. You're not going to go to the gym. Because your body's just going to go, let's find something else. I will find anything else to do because you don't want to go to the gym. On the other hand, if you say, oh, I love going to the gym, then you're going to go to the gym. If you say, I hate Brussels sprouts, it doesn't matter whether they put them in maple syrup and bacon and all sorts of other things. You're like, why ruin the maple syrup and the bacon? I ain't eating them. So, given that we have this subconscious, and it's very important how we talk to it, what is that narrative that we're saying to it? And if we say to ourselves, I'm useless, I'm not disciplined enough, I'm not good enough, if that's the narrative that we are saying over and over again, and I'm pretty sure if you're honest with yourselves, there is an unhelpful narrative there that you keep telling yourself about what you're not good enough at. And if you keep telling that to your mind, you're going to believe it. So to an extent, and I haven't read anything about this, and I don't know this, but my personal belief is that part of what's going on in this exercise is we are having a different narrative with our subconscious mind. So if we tell ourselves, I am happy, I am healthy, I am filled with joy, that is the messages we're going to get. So I think it's fine. But that might be part of what's going on here. It might not be. I don't know. But I sort of found this hypnosis thing interesting, that basically what we're trying to do is get very relaxed until we can get a different message into the subconscious. So, and that might be what's going on here, is that we're actually generating this inbuilt love, compassion, kindness, generosity into ourselves. Okay. Any other questions? We've got time for one more question, or we'll give this a go. Okay, so I'll guide you through it all. It's a 5-step exercise, and it's relatively straightforward. So, okay, yes, everybody stand up again. Have a stretch. We're being kind to ourselves, so. And take a seat when you're ready. When you're ready, sitting up straight, take a nice deep breath in. And let it out. And take another deep breath in. I'm just trying to let go of any tension you're holding in your body, any doubts, any nerves, any fears, any anxiety. Just letting it out with each breath, settling into your body. And now once again, I'm going to ask you to bring to mind somebody that cares for you very much and that you care for unconditionally. That might be a parent, a child, a spouse, a friend. It can be your pet. And in this, we're going to bring them to mind, and we're going to wish them well. We're going to allow ourselves to fully express our love for them. We're going to practice our own love, generosity, and kindness. And frequently, we're not as generous with our love, even towards people we care about, as we might be. We hold back. We believe maybe we have a limited amount to give. But it's not true. We can give it all away, and we still have it all left to give. So bring this person to mind and allow them to feel the full extent of your love and how you feel towards them. And then try and hold your attention on these phrases as you direct them to them, saying to them, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may your life be filled with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. See if you can bring those phrases into your mind with full attention and say them towards this person in your mind. Over and over. And as with any meditation, it's easy to get distracted and start thinking about something else. And that's fine, that's normal. But when you notice that's happened, see if you can bring your attention back to this person and to the next phrase. Put your attention fully onto the phrase as you say it. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. Okay. So now perhaps one of the hardest parts of the exercise is you're going to see if you can generate that same level of generosity, kindness, love towards yourself. And if you notice there's resistance, for whatever reason, that you're not worthy of it, that it's self-indulgent, just notice what that resistance feels like. Notice that you have it. It's very common. And then see whether you can just let go of the resistance just for this exercise, just for the next few minutes. And just see if you can allow yourself to feel that same level of generosity, kindness, support, and love. And once again, bringing your full attention to these phrases as you say them. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May my life be filled with joy. Again, if you don't feel anything, don't worry. We're sowing seeds here. Bring your full attention to the phrases as you say them. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May my life be filled with joy. You may find it helpful just to put the palm of your hand in the middle of your chest, just to feel this love. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May my life be filled with joy. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May my life be filled with joy. Okay, so for the third part of this exercise, I want you to bring to mind somebody that's in your life, but you don't know them terribly well. You don't know them well enough to have a positive or negative opinion about them. So it might be a neighbor, a work colleague, could be the person at the UPS store. Just somebody in your life, it doesn't really matter who. And again, we're going to practice our capacity for love, generosity, and kindness, and direct it towards this person. We don't know them, but we know they struggle, just like you do. We know they experience loss, sadness, frustration, just like you do. See if you can open up your heart to them. And again, placing full attention on the phrases. Just saying to them, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. Okay, so for the fourth part of the exercise, we're going to raise the difficulty level a little bit. I like to think this is a bit like increasing the incline on the treadmill. It's just to make us a bit fitter. So I want you to bring to mind somebody in your life that's a little bit difficult. We're not going for somebody that you hate. we're going for, or somebody that's really hurt you, we're going for somebody who's sort of irritating or annoying. Might be a family member, a parent, a child, a spouse. But usually, somebody in our family is usually a pretty good target. That we care about them, but they're difficult. Now, this exercise is not for them. It's not to excuse their behavior. It's not to forgive them. It's for you. It's to give you a bit of a challenge. So it should be a little bit difficult. And then you're going to see if you can do it anyway. Recognizing they also struggle. They also experience grief and loss, frustration, just like you do. So bring them to mind, and if you can't feel it, don't worry, but just see if you can just put your full attention on the phrases as you say to them, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. They're never going to know. This is just for you. So if you feel the resistance, just notice the resistance. Recognize that's why we're doing this part. And see if you can just do it anyway, for your own benefit. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May your life be filled with joy. Okay, so for the last part of the exercise, we're going to really open up our heart as much as we possibly can. And we're going to send these good feelings towards every being on the planet. So if it helps, I like to sort of think of myself as being in space and seeing planet Earth and imagining all of the humans and all of the animals, all of the living things. And without thinking about it too much, just see if you can open your heart to all beings, really as an exercise in making us bigger than we thought we were possible to be. And sending that love to everything. And just put our attention fully on the phrases, no matter how hard we find it. Just put your attention on the phrase and say, may they be happy. May they be healthy. May their lives be filled with joy. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May their lives be filled with joy. If you get distracted or you start thinking about it too much, just return your attention back to the sentence, the phrase. And just say the phrase with your full attention behind it. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May their lives be filled with joy. And take a deep breath in and let it out. And in your own time, when you're ready, open your eyes and connect yourself back into the room. Okay, so if you'd like to join me on this journey for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to encourage you to try and do some of this every day. If you've only got 5 minutes, just do that last exercise and just do it for a minute each. Just maybe say the phrases 5, 6 times or something like that per picture. So somebody that you love very much, yourself, somebody you don't know very well, somebody who's a little bit difficult, and then all living beings. And then maybe occasionally when you see that person who's a little bit difficult, you can give them a wry smile. see what's happening. Yes, please.
Change up the people every day, or should we use the same?
Should you change up the people every day or use the same 5? I will confess, I'm incredibly lazy. So I always use exactly the same people. And the person that I find a bit difficult, I find the exercise to be easier. And then I confess, the moment I see him, I'm sort of like, ooh! so I'm going to find the next 42 days interesting to see if that changes at all. But the purpose of it is not to change that, really. The purpose of using the difficult person is to help us overcome our own resistance for ourselves. It's to add a difficulty level so that we get better at allowing ourselves to feel that love for ourselves. But I'm really lazy, but I think there's no problem with changing it up if you get bored of sending it to the same person or something like that. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Is this going to be on your website?
That last meditation is on the website. So for those who don't know it, it's RealWorldMeditation.org. The first one is not yet, but it will be. I'll pick up the audio from tonight and I'll post that on the website. If there aren't any other questions, or you just want to ask me questions, please come up and ask me afterwards. There is a sign-up sheet, or there will be in a second. So if you want to be on my email list and you're not, just give me your email. Some people said they wanted a book, but I don't think they're here tonight. But if you want a book, I've got some books. Other than that, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May your week be filled with joy. Thanks very much, everybody.